I proposed with my heart. She said yes for my bank account. The night I proposed to the woman I loved, she cried tears of joy. Turns out, they were for the life she thought she'd secured, not the man who gave it to her. My name is Daniel Harper. I'm 34, born and raised in Seattle, and I run a mid-sized tech consultancy I started in my mid-20s. It's nothing flashy, but it's done well enough for me to live comfortably and invest smartly. I'm not a flashy guy. I don't drive a Lamborghini. I don't flash designer clothes or post motivational quotes on social media. If you met me, you'd probably think I was a software engineer or maybe a manager at a startup. I like it that way. I met Layla 3 years ago at a mutual friend's engagement party. She was 29 at the time, working as a PR consultant for a lifestyle brand. She walked in wearing a pale blue dress that looked like it had been stitched from sunlight. She was magnetic, funny, sharp, quick-witted. But more than anything, she had a softness to her, like she actually listened when you spoke. I hadn't felt that in years. We hit it off that night. She told me she was tired of dating boys who acted like men, and I told her I was tired of playing games. She laughed and touched my arm, and I remember thinking, I don't want to date again if it's not her. The first year was magic. Weekend trips to wine country, late-night dinners where we'd talk for hours, lazy Sundays with coffee and books. She was thoughtful. She'd leave notes in my coat pocket before work. She made me playlists. She remembered my mum's birthday and bought her flowers. I wasn't naive. I knew every relationship had a honeymoon phase. But with her, it felt sustainable, like we were building something. I told her about my finances maybe 6 months in. She never asked, but we were getting serious, and I figured honesty mattered. She didn't make a big deal out of it, just nodded and said, "Well, you've worked hard, you deserve what you have." That response comforted me. No gold digger vibes, no weird energy, just support. When we moved in together, she insisted on splitting groceries, taking turns paying for date nights and covering her part of the utilities. I respected that. It made me trust her more. About a year and a half in, I started thinking about proposing, not in a should I kind of way, more like how soon is too soon. I even talked to her best friend, Marcy, to float the idea. Marcy grinned and said, "You'd make her the happiest woman alive." So I did it. I booked a quiet dinner at the same rooftop restaurant where we had our first real date. Got down on one knee with a custom ring I designed myself. Nothing too gaudy, just elegant. She cried before I could finish my sentence, nodded, hugged me like she never wanted to let go. That night, she called her parents, her siblings, all her friends. Posted a picture of the ring with a caption that said, "Forever starts now." And I believed it, every word. The next few months were a blur of venue hunting, cake tasting, engagement photos, and Pinterest boards. We weren't rushing, but the excitement was palpable. She started referring to me as her future husband in every conversation. I thought I'd won the lottery. I thought she felt the same. But slowly, very slowly, little things started to change. Subtle, nothing obvious, nothing you'd point to as a red flag at first, but enough to put something off-kilter in my gut. Something I brushed off for too long. And by the time I realized what it actually was, the wedding was only 8 weeks away. It started with the planner. We were sitting with Cassandra, the wedding planner Layla had insisted on hiring, top-of-the-line, boutique firm, apparently the only one who could really bring her vision to life. I didn't mind. I was happy to invest in our day. We'd already agreed on a budget, but somehow the numbers kept climbing. What was originally supposed to be a $40K wedding was inching closer to $70K. I mentioned it casually, trying to keep the tone light. "Hey, Layla, maybe we rein in a few things. We're getting pretty high above what we discussed." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Daniel, I know you're used to handling money, but this is my only wedding. It has to be perfect." Hesitated. "Of course, I just meant, if it's getting out of control, we can always cut back on things that won't matter in 5 years. She tilted her head, spoken like someone who's never dreamed of their wedding day. That was the first time her words actually stung, but I let it go. Maybe she was stressed. Everyone gets a little obsessive during wedding planning, right? Then came the bachelorette party. She planned a weekend getaway with her bridesmaids. Nothing crazy, just a wine tour out of state. I sent her off with flowers and a handwritten note. She didn't text me all weekend, which was unusual. I figured she just wanted to unplug, no big deal. But when she came back, she was colder, distracted, always on her phone. Short answers. A little too quick to end our conversations. I chalked it up to post-trip exhaustion until I overheard her on a call late one night. It was past midnight, and I'd gotten up to grab water. As I walked down the hallway, I heard her voice, low, whispery. "No, I haven't told him. Are you kidding? He'd lose it." A pause. "Because I need this to go through. I've waited too long for this life." I froze. Not out of suspicion, out of confusion. She hung up a minute later. I slipped back into bed without a word, my heart pounding. I didn't know what I'd just heard. Maybe it was wedding-related. Maybe she was just venting to a friend. But the phrase, "this life," kept echoing. The next morning, she was all smiles. Again, asked if I wanted pancakes, kissed me on the cheek, acted like nothing happened. I started paying closer attention, and that's when I saw it. She'd left her iPad open in the kitchen while she was showering. Notifications were popping up. I never snooped, never needed to. But something in me couldn't resist. I tapped the screen. It was a group chat, her and her bridesmaids. The last message read, "Layla. He's still totally clueless. I swear, if he knew how loaded he really is, he'd make me sign a prenup. Thankfully, he's too romantic." For that, another message from one of her friends. "Marcy, girl, you're playing this perfectly. Secure the bag and lock it down. Layla, please, I'm not trying to be poor in my 30s. He's my exit plan." I stood there staring at the screen, feeling my chest go hollow. Every dinner, every laugh, every lazy Sunday morning, rewritten in real time like someone had flipped the lights on during a dream. It wasn't love, it was leverage. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I copied the chat, sent it to myself, and started documenting everything. I wanted to be sure. I needed to know if this was a one-time lapse in judgment or something deeper. Over the next week, I monitored how she acted, what she said, who she messaged. The pattern was clear. Layla was calculating, charming, strategic. Every kiss, every promise, calibrated. She hadn't fallen in love with me. She'd fallen for the lifestyle I didn't even flaunt. I'd built my life from scratch, stone by stone, thinking I was inviting someone to build with me. Turns out, she just wanted the keys to the house, and I wasn't going to let her keep them. I didn't rage. I didn't scream or flip a table. That's not me. I'm calculated, not cold. But when someone betrays me, I don't explode. I document. I move pieces. The first thing I did was call my attorney. Victor's been with me since I incorporated. My business, quiet guy, ex-corporate shark, always 10 steps ahead. I told him I needed a prenup and fast. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Just preparing," I said. He didn't press. We drafted it over the course of 4 days. Clean, ironclad. It protected my business, investments, retirement, even the condo I bought before meeting her. She'd get nothing I hadn't already agreed to share. The next step was trickier, getting her to agree. I waited until a Sunday morning when she was relaxed. We were having brunch at home, and she was scrolling through wedding centerpiece ideas on her phone. "Hey, babe," I said casually. "Quick thing, we should probably get a prenup done before the wedding, yeah?" She looked up confused. "A prenup?" "Yeah, nothing crazy, just smart financial planning, standard stuff." Her face shifted. "You don't trust me?" "Of course I do. This isn't about trust. It's about being adults. Protecting both of us." She put down her fork. "You never mentioned this before." "I didn't think I had to," I said. "But I talked to Victor. It's standard. Honestly, I'd feel better if we both had clarity going into this." She was silent for a few seconds. Then she forced a smile. "Okay, if that's what makes you feel better." I nodded. "Thanks. I'll email it to you tonight." That night I sent it. The next morning she told me she hadn't slept. "I didn't expect this," she said, wrapping herself in a blanket like she was wounded. "It feels like you're building a wall between us." "You said yes for love, right?" I asked, holding her gaze. "So this shouldn't change anything." She blinked. Right, of course. But I knew I'd fractured the illusion. For the next few days she tried harder, made dinner, bought me little gifts, even surprised me with a reservation at my favorite steakhouse. She smiled wider, touched my arm more, laughed at every joke. It was all performance. A week later, she sent the prenup back. No comments, no changes, signed. That's when I started planning the exit. I didn't want drama. I didn't want tears. I just wanted the truth out in the open. So I made copies of the messages, every text, every screenshot, every recording of our conversations where she slipped and talked about our future in terms that sounded more like a sales pitch than, "Hey, marriage." I created a single PDF, labeled it Reality Check, and I chose her bridal shower as the day. I was supposed to swing by at the end to thank everyone and bring a bottle of champagne. Instead, I showed up earlier than expected, wearing a calm smile. The place was packed, her bridesmaids, some of her cousins, even her mum. She looked surprised to see me. "Daniel, what are you doing here already?" "I have a surprise," I said. The room oohed. I pulled a small flash drive from my jacket. "You guys want to see how deep love really goes?" She went pale. "Daniel." I walked over to the TV, plugged it in, and opened the PDF on the screen. Every message, every smug emoji, every quote about using me for a soft landing. Silence fell. Her mom gasped. Marcy muttered, "Oh my God." Layla just stood there, frozen. I looked at her. This is who I was going to marry. Then I turned to her guests. "You all deserve to know who you're celebrating." I left without another word. I expected yelling. I expected her to chase after me, deny it, twist it, or cry until I questioned everything I knew. Instead, there was silence. She didn't call, didn't text. Not that day, not the next. It was Marcy who messaged me first. Just one sentence. "You were right to do it." That said everything. Later that evening, I got a long email from her maid of honor, Jen, a quiet friend I'd only met twice. She apologized for staying silent, said she always felt something was off but didn't have proof to speak up. She ended with, "You deserved someone who loved you, not your account." Her mother, to my surprise, reached out the day after she called me. "Daniel," she said, her voice shaking, "I had no idea. If I'd known—" She trailed off. "You didn't deserve that." We spoke for 5 minutes. It was one of the most painful conversations I've ever had, because she truly sounded broken. Then finally, Layla texted. 2 days later, no apology, no admission. "Layla, you humiliated me. That was private. You didn't have to destroy me like that." That was all. No remorse, no shame, just anger that I exposed her truth. I didn't respond. A week passed, then 2. I heard through mutual friends that she cancelled the wedding venue, deleted her social media, and took time off work. Apparently, she was re-evaluating her relationships. I never spoke to her again. There was no closure talk, no second-chance conversation, because in my mind, there was no gray area left. She didn't love me. She loved the idea of the life I could give her. When that was threatened, she didn't fight for us. She fought for the lifestyle she was about to lose. The people who mattered reached out, quietly, respectfully. Some offered sympathy, some offered drinks. A few told me stories about what they'd seen, how Layla talked about the wedding like a business deal, not a commitment. Piece by piece, the image of our relationship crumbled, and in its place stood something colder, but clearer: the truth. People ask me if I regret proposing to her. I don't. That might sound strange, but if I hadn't, I wouldn't have seen what was behind the curtain. I would have kept building a life with someone who only wanted to live in it, not help construct. That proposal wasn't a mistake, it was a mirror. I've spent my life being careful. With money, with people, with how much of myself I show. With Layla, I let that guard down. I gave fully, heart, time, resources, trust, and she saw it as an opportunity, not a gift. There's something sobering about learning you were a target instead of a partner, but there's also clarity in it. Once the illusion dies, everything sharpens. You start to see who really valued you, and who just smiled because they thought you'd eventually be useful. In the months after the bridal shower, I focused on rebuilding. Not my bank account, not my image, myself. I went to therapy, not because I was heartbroken, but because I needed to understand why I ignored the warning signs, why I romanticized her red flags, why I mistook ambition for alignment. And I realized I wanted the story. I wanted the idea of a love that felt serendipitous. A woman who just got me, who wasn't impressed by what I had, but who loved who I was. Layla played that role so convincingly that I didn't question the script. I fell in love with the performance. But I've learned that love isn't a presentation. It's what shows up when no one's watching. It's who a person is when there's nothing left to gain. In a strange way, I'm grateful for the betrayal. It taught me more than years of good times ever could. It taught me that real love doesn't require manipulation, that protecting yourself isn't cynical, it's healthy, and that sometimes exposure is the only way to find closure. I haven't dated seriously since. I've gone out, sure. I've had good conversations, even a few laughs, but I'm not rushing. Not because I'm bitter, because I know the value of what I'm offering. And I'm not interested in sharing it with someone who's more invested in my assets than my character. Layla. Last I heard, she moved out of state, took a marketing job somewhere down south, deleted most of her digital footprint. I doubt she tells her version of what happened the same way. I imagine I'm the villain in her version. The controlling, cold fiance who embarrassed her in front of her friends. That's fine. I'm not here to control the narrative, just to tell mine. Because for the first time in years, I feel free. No performance, no pretending. Just me, flawed, cautious, still open, but with my eyes wide open now. I kept the ring, not out of sentiment, out of symbolism. It's a reminder. Not every yes means love. Sometimes it means strategy, and not every heartbreak is a tragedy. Sometimes it's a rescue.